Family betrayal doesn't always come as shouting or slammed doors. Sometimes it arrives softly, dressed in polite language, smiling while it cuts deep. My brother called me 3 days before his engagement party. I remember the exact moment, the late afternoon light slipping through the curtains, the quiet hum of my phone vibrating on the table. His name flashed on the screen, and for a second I smiled. I thought he was calling to share excitement, maybe to ask me to arrive early, maybe even to stand beside him. His voice sounded formal, carefully controlled. "There's something I need to talk to you about," he said. I leaned against the window, watching people pass outside. "What's up?" He cleared his throat. "The engagement party is going to be different, very exclusive. Her family is inviting high status people, businessmen, influential guests." I waited for the point. Another pause, then he said it. "Honestly, it might be better if you don't attend. You know how these things are. Appearances matter. Your presence might lower the room's status." The words landed slowly, like drops of poison. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my body didn't know how else to react. My chest tightened, my throat burned, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe. I wasn't irresponsible. I wasn't a failure. I just wasn't visible enough for his world. In the background, I could hear familiar sounds, my mother's voice, distant laughter. She didn't say anything. No one corrected him. That silence hurt more than his words ever could. "I understand," I said quietly. He sounded relieved. "Good. I knew you'd get it." When the call ended, the room felt colder. I sat down and stared at the blank wall, replaying the conversation again and again, wondering when family became something you had to qualify for. That evening, I opened my drawer and placed inside it the things that no longer had a place in my life. Old certificates, unfinished plans, and the hope that blood alone guaranteed belonging. I realized then that love in some families is conditional. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I didn't explain my struggles or my dreams. I simply learned a painful truth. Sometimes the people closest to you are the first to believe you don't belong in the room. Life didn't change after that call. It simply became quieter. The engagement party came and went without me. Photos appeared online. Smiling faces, crystal lights, my brother standing proudly in a tailored suit. I studied the pictures longer than I should have, searching for any sign of absence. There was none. The room looked full without me, and that realization hurt more than being excluded. I muted the family group chat that night. While everyone celebrated milestones, I returned to my routine: long hours, unpaid risks, and dreams that only existed on paper. My days began before sunrise and ended with spreadsheets glowing in the dark. There were no applause, no congratulatory messages, no safety nets. Just me and the weight of responsibility I had chosen. I was building something, though no one noticed. At family gatherings, the conversation flowed around me like I wasn't there. My brother spoke confidently about future plans, investments, and connections. People listened, people admired. When attention turned toward me, it was brief and awkward. "So, what are you doing these days?" "Still working on that idea." "When will you settle down?" I answered politely. I learned not to explain too much. Dreams sound foolish to those who only respect results. Some nights were heavier than others. I would sit alone staring at rejection emails, wondering if they were right, if I really did lower the room's status. Doubt crept in quietly, wearing familiar voices, but pain has a strange way of sharpening focus. Instead of chasing validation, I chased discipline. I studied markets while others slept. I learned from failures I never spoke about. Every mistake became a lesson, every setback fuel. I stopped announcing plans and started collecting progress. Months passed, then years. No one asked how I was surviving. No one noticed how much I had changed. I grew calmer, stronger, quieter. One evening, after losing a deal I had worked on for months, I sat on the floor of my small apartment, exhausted beyond anger. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from understanding. I opened my notebook and wrote one sentence. "They think I don't belong in important rooms. One day I'll build rooms of my own." That night, I didn't feel bitter. I felt certain. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace, stability, and a life where I never had to ask permission to exist. And somewhere between loneliness and determination, I stopped trying to prove myself to people who never truly saw me. Success didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived quietly like everything else in my life. The breakthrough came on an ordinary morning. I was drinking cold coffee, scrolling through emails when one subject line froze my breath. Bloomberg founder profile request. I read it once. Then again, they weren't asking for a pitch. They weren't offering exposure in exchange for promises. They wanted my story, the numbers, the risks, the years of invisible work. Someone had been watching when I thought no one was. The interview process was intense. Calls stretched for hours, questions cut deep, about failures, sacrifices, and the moments I almost quit. I answered honestly. There was no image to protect, no illusion to maintain, just truth. When the article finally went live, I didn't tell my family. I didn't post about it. I sat alone and watched the page load, my name printed cleanly at the top, my journey laid bare for the world. By midday, my phone began to vibrate nonstop. Investors, journalists, old contacts who once ignored my emails. People who suddenly remembered me. Then came the family messages. My mother called first. Her voice trembled with pride and confusion. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked. I didn't know how to answer. My father sent a simple message, "Well done." 2 words I had waited years to hear. Finally, my brother. He laughed nervously, trying to sound casual. "You could have said something." He said, "We're family after all, family." The word felt different now, lighter, less powerful. Within days, invitations followed, private dinners, exclusive gatherings, the same type of rooms I was once considered unworthy to enter. One message stood out. "My brothers, we're hosting a small dinner next week." He wrote, "Important people will be there. You should come." I stared at the screen, remembering his voice from years ago, telling me my presence would lower the room's status. The irony didn't make me angry. It made me quiet. For the first time, I realized something deeply freeing. Recognition changes people, not truths. I hadn't transformed overnight. I was the same person they had overlooked, only now the world had confirmed my worth. I agreed to attend the dinner, not out of pride but closure. Not to prove anything, but to finally walk into a room without needing permission. And this time, I wouldn't be invisible. The dinner was held in a place that valued appearances, soft lighting, expensive cutlery, conversations polished to perfection. I arrived on time, not early, not late. I didn't wear anything loud. I didn't need to. As I stepped inside, no one announced my name. And that was fine. I had spent years entering rooms unnoticed. Then something changed. A man near the table looked up, paused, and stood. "You're the founder from the Bloomberg piece," he said, extending his hand. His voice carried. Others turned. Another guest recognized me. Then another. Chairs shifted. Conversation stopped. The room rose not for arrogance, not for show, but for acknowledgement. Across the table, my brother froze. His confident posture collapsed into stillness. He watched as investors greeted me with respect he had once reserved only for others. I took my seat calmly. I spoke when spoken to. I listened more than I talked. There was no need to explain my past or exaggerate my future. My work had already done that for me. During dessert, someone asked, "What was the hardest part of building your company?" I didn't look at my brother. I didn't look at my family. I answered honestly, being invisible while believing in myself. The table went quiet, not awkward, but thoughtful. Later, as the evening softened, my mother squeezed my hand. Her eyes were wet. My father nodded at me from across the room, pride unspoken but clear. They were seeing me, for the first time, not through headlines, but through presence. As I prepared to leave, my brother followed me outside. The night air was cool, humbling. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "I judged you by what people could see." I met his eyes. There was no anger left in me, only distance that had healed into peace. "I know," I said. "I forgave you a long time ago. I just stopped needing approval." He nodded, understanding too late. I walked away without triumph, without resentment. That was the revenge, becoming so whole that past wounds no longer bled. That night, as I looked back at the glowing building, I realized something powerful. Some people try to shrink you because they're afraid of your growth. Others ignore you until the world applauds. But true success isn't making them regret it. It's no longer caring whether they do. And for the first time, I felt free